So, elected Republican officials and leaders last year they became tired of the influx of migrants coming in their cities. Across the table, on the other hand, the Democrats, being this was a Democratic administration, the presidency, they were more receptive, to their policies. Like the mayor of New York, Mayor Adams. This is what he said earlier.
As the mayor of the city of New York, I don't, weigh into immigration issues, border issues. I have to provide services for families that are here, and that's what we're going to do. And that's what our responsibility as a city. I'm proud that this is a right to shelter state, and we're going to continue to do that.
So, when Republican leaders now started busing migrants to his city, a couple months has gone on of this. New York City is being flooded now with migrants coming from everywhere. And they asked him about his sanctuary status, his sanctuary city status. And this is what he said.
As we celebrated the birth of Jesus, he was faced with a no more room, but there was a place that was found. And that's what we're doing. We have no more room, but we're still finding spaces and accommodating. And we're going to continue to do that. That is our law, that is our obligation, and that is what's morally right. We're going to do that. But what we're not going to do is to fail to acknowledge the burden this is having on New Yorkers and the burden this is having on our city. It is unfair. And we're going to continue to make sure that we don't have families that are sleeping in the street because we did not do the best we can to accommodate them.
Now, they've gone on to do different strategies to try to handle this. They've even gone as far as doing this.
Welcome back. New video into Fox News of 5 more buses carrying migrants from Texas arriving in New York City earlier this morning. And we're learning more about where many are staying at taxpayer expense. The city is renting some 5,000 rooms at a swanky hotel just 1 block from Times Square with spectacular views of the iconic skyline. Rooms cost up to $700 per night. Oh, there's also a top-of-the-line fitness center on the 3rd floor. Officials are keeping the cost of all of this under wraps, but a similar package to house the homeless during the early days of the pandemic came at a $300 million tab.
The mayor came in there. He was trying to do the Democratic thing. Yeah, I'm not going against the president, and his policies. Well, boy, the migrants started flooding down the streets. People couldn't move. People sleeping outside, showering outside, brushing their teeth outside. The cabs driving by seeing this. That's not good for the scenery. It's not good for business. It's not good for the city. Not only is there no room, there's no money for this. At least in the taxpayer minds, they don't think it's wise to be coughing up their money for. Come on, man.
Food and water for migrants in Midtown Manhattan, in what is becoming a familiar sight in New York City. Since late July, thousands of migrants have been bused from Texas to New York and other U.S. states. With shelters full, migrants are sleeping outside of the Roosevelt Hotel, a processing center for the city's shelters. Jean Carlos Vasquez is a migrant from Venezuela.
It's been a few hours since I arrived. They gave me water, some apples, and other food. But no one has answered any questions I had. They just gave me a ticket with my number in line. No idea how long I'll have to wait.
Migrants mostly come from Africa and Latin America. Most of them don't speak English and don't know what to do, as many were told at the border they'll get shelter in New York. Natalia and Maxim Subotiny are from Russia. They hope to get political asylum in the U.S. After having spent 3 months in Mexico, they made it to New York.
At the Roosevelt Hotel, they told us, "Come here tonight. You'll have a room to sleep in. You won't sleep in the street." Yet the line doesn't move at all. So I don't know how long we'll be here.
New York authorities say about 90,000 migrants have arrived here from the southern border in the last year.
What does the mayor of New York think about his sanctuary city status now? Let's listen to an interview and hear what he's saying.
Here, we're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted.
Oh, that boy didn't change tone. The tone of that boy didn't change. 61,000 migrants flooded into his city. That boy started talking different, you know? And it leads me to wonder, now on this immigration issue, now nobody is saying immigration is an easy issue to solve. I don't care how good you are. You will never be able to completely stop immigration. If you're a successful country, you're going to have some kind of illegal immigrants trying to come into your city. But you can limit it, right? But this administration, for some reason, they've decided to take a weak stance on immigration. And it's not even just this administration. Historically speaking, the Democrats seem to be a little bit more lenient on immigration, open borders, and yada, yada, yada. I'm an immigrant myself, so I'm not against immigration, but I came in legally, ended up winning the DV lottery, diversity lottery program, which is why I was so upset when Trump halted it, because I was like, I felt that was at least one way to get people in legally, properly. So when Trump halted that, I felt a little bit kind of way, and I was a bit against his little immigration stance in the beginning. But now I see with this influx of migrants coming in from the border, and there seems to be no contain. And the Republicans now are taking their own stance and have decided to start busing them to Democratic cities, or cities that are headed by Democratic officials. These Democrats don't look so happy now. So it leads me to wonder, in the first place, first of all, who does immigration help? One. But even more, who does illegal immigration help? I know immigration helps the country if it's done properly. You get an enthusiastic group of people who, based on their own circumstances, have the drive to do better and to change their lives. Some come to study, some come to work, different reasons. But what I don't understand is illegal immigration. Who does that help? I never seem to understand that. I never seem to understood that. I never understood why you would want 100, 200,000 people coming into your border, just coming in illegally. You didn't bring them in; they just came in through your border, and now you have to house them. You're figuring out a way to house them to the point where you're suggesting this.
If you have an extra room or suite in your home, please consider hosting a family. Our resources are stretched thin.
First of all, I'm a friendly person. I'm a nice guy. I'm brother. I don't have no problem. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not about to house no random stranger in my house now, bro. Because we got an immigration crisis. Or because our administration don't want to enforce proper policies to handle this. You want us to house these guys, man? I don't have any problem housing somebody in my house. But I go through the proper channels. Buddy, I need a background check. One, I need credit history. Two, you know, and we need to have a face-to-face or something. Talk. You can't even speak English. Come on, man. How I'm gonna tell you something? How I'm gonna tell you about anything in the house? Are you talking about housing these people in our houses? We're not against this because we're mean. Oh, we can't. It's just we feel as if the policies in place to handle this aren't right to begin with. Again, nobody's saying it's easy, but right now it seems like the floodgates are open. And I can't see how this is beneficial to the United States. And which is why it's leading me to ask this question. It seems like this is more of a Democratic thing, Democratic Party thing. They seem leaning. And I'm not against the Democratic Party, or I'm an independent, you know. But it seems as if the influx helps that party. It got me thinking how? Maybe in elections, you know? And then I heard somebody say this to me once. If Texas turned blue, the Republicans would probably never win another election again. I was thinking to myself, yeah, that's a big state. It has a lot of electoral votes. And Texas has always been a staple for the Republicans. It's been a red state, if I remember correctly. So is this influx of migrants, does this have anything to do with swaying the elections one way? You know? Being that they let you, the Democratic Party was a Democratic administration that let you in, you're more likely to vote Democratic on your elections. That's what I'm thinking. Is that the play? Because I don't see how this is beneficial. You have thousands of people sleeping in your streets. When you have a homeless crisis in San Francisco, you can't even handle there. Yet you're letting 100,000 people just walk into your border. Who does that help? I am not against immigration. But by the time you're letting somebody into this country, you've done the due diligence, at least to know this person, know that he has the ability he has somewhere to house himself for some time, has the ability to start working or go to school for the meantime. Or if you're going to bring him in, at least have the shelter already up in place, where you're going to bring him in. Right now, it seems like there is no room. There is no more space. How do you want the everyday citizens of that city to feel? Walking out every day, walking around the street, seeing not only the homeless people that are there before, but now you have new ones, migrants, illegal ones at that, coming in through your border. And the only reason I'm saying illegal, because You didn't let him in. You didn't give him paperwork to come in. You're not the one. Yeah, so, and again, this is not, immigration is not, this is not just a North American issue, right? Even in Italy, the Prime Minister of Italy, has been having issues too with a bunch of migrants coming in from the border. Well, not the border, a bunch of migrants coming in on this little, you know, coastal town of theirs, and they're just flooding in that town. Let's look at this.
Lampedusa's migrant reception centre is overwhelmed and overflowing. Designed to handle 400 people, it was housing an estimated 4,000 people on Wednesday. And the island's mayor, Filippo Menino, told Italy's RTL radio that 7,000 migrants have arrived on the small Italian island in the past 48 hours. That's left many sleeping in the elements. Menino says the island is in crisis and has reached a point of no return. With a population of just 6,000, Lampedusa sits between Tunisia and Malta, the closest gateway for many hoping to reach the European Union. Cameroon mother Claudine Nsoe and her 18-month-old prince spent a week at sea on their way from Libya.
At the moment, I hope that the situation improves and that they let us leave from here, because the living conditions here are not easy. We sleep in the open air, in the sun and in the cold. The food is not. Then there are the children.
Others have faced similar treacherous journeys by boat.
I arrived in Italy, in Lampedusa. They welcomed us well. They gave us food. There were people who came to take pictures. Italy is good and they welcomed us well. I'm proud of Italy. I'm proud to be in Italy. I'm proud to still be here.
On Friday, United Nations Refugee Agency called for migrants to be relocated from Lampedusa urgently due to the island's limited resources, urging other European nations to step in to help.
Yeah, so we know, like, immigration is not something, it's not an easy thing to tackle. And she's gone as far as the requesting for help from the United Nations, from the European Union, to tackle this. But some of these issues need to be tackled from the countries of origin. If you're bringing something, these people are flooding your country, you should have a way where you're bringing people in from those countries, and their policies with their officials from those countries, and you select those who you want there and you bring. Or you do a lottery or whatever it is, like I did, run a lottery and you bring them in. That way you can curb down on the smuggling, Allocate a budget. Not only for your country, but for your neighboring countries, for the countries where you feel as if they're providing the passage. Passage is being provided for them. Either the country you think is providing the boats or who's transporting them, You guys need to sit together and come up with policies where you guys will tackle these issues together. Give them a little bit of money and tell them you're going to vet those who you want in, if that's what you want to do, or do a lottery or whatever. But right now, you can't just have thousands and thousands of people just flooded in somebody's city. Italy's own issue is this whole influx of guns that, the Clinton administration, in order to get rid of Gaddafi over there, they were propping up proxy groups over there, arming them. Now they got rid of the dude, killed that guy. Libya's not the same, But those guns are traveling downwards, causing instabilities in other countries in the Sahel. Now there's coups popping up everywhere in Africa. Where are the guns coming from? Africa is another topic, but this immigration thing, there's always a root, some kind of, well, let's not say a root cause. There's always a root, there's always an origin, let's say, a place of origin. There's guns flooded now in the Sahel region, man. Flooded. We got African jihadists. I'm African. I always ask myself this question. When did we start having religious disputes? Jihadists in Africa? Now, I know we've had territorial disputes in Africa that could cause wars. We've had disputes over resources and money that could cause wars. Corruption, stuff like that. Now we're having jihadists. People with strange ideologies that didn't even begin in Africa. Boko Haram popped up in West Africa. And, I don't know if they're still operational, but that was a terrorist group. They came in there and wanted to impose Sharia law, if I'm saying that correctly, in a region with a lot of Christians. So this is a topic for another conversation, but we just want to talk about this immigration thing. Come on, man. What's the deal?